G'day, Tyson Golder here, and welcome to Tyson Golder's Common Sense. Today I'm wanting to talk to you about just the common sense of fast farming and why really we should be all making sure that we try and eat organic or no chemicals. And this is nothing against all the people that do fast farming. They have to, because they're trying to make a living. But it's no good for our gut, which is our stomach, which they actually now, the research is that it's our second brain. And I believe that's why so many issues we're having. Because of fast farming, we now grow 2 or 3 times as much as we ever grew in the past. The microbes in the soil that you can't see really aren't there most of the time, because there's just chemical inputs and there's fertilizer inputs, and really not much of it's from nature. So the soil and the microbes that are in the soil that make great conditions to grow really healthy plants aren't there. And this is all down to money and people trying to make a living off the land, and that hasn't changed for hundreds of years. But one of the things I wanted to talk to today about is the fact that don't think that the regulators are there to protect your interests as far as whether things are healthy for you. So don't think just because you can buy it that it has been checked out, because as we've seen, one of the researchers actually researched the blueberries that they bought in, I think, a New South Wales supermarket. And you know, these blueberries are sold all over Australia. They're very economical a lot of the time, but there's a reason. So what happened is the researcher actually bought some blueberries, went and did testing on them, broke them down into what chemicals are actually in the blueberries. They sent them away for testing, and they found not only one trace of something that's actually banned, but also higher levels than allowable of something that is allowed. And also they were saying, and I'm not a professional, so I'm telling you just a basic general version. Like one of the things that they found is that if you eat more of those blueberries, and a lot of kids eat blueberries because they love them because they've been grown to be so sweet now, that you are taking in higher levels of this chemical. Now, after the researcher at the university actually went and did the work and then made the regulator aware of it, now the regulator has done an investigation, and I think they've changed the level. So it just actually shows that the regulator is not there to protect you. The regulators are missing in action. And the other thing that we see is that you may think that the regulator is going to look after your best interests, but there has been plenty of evidence where they're missing in action, or the people making decisions have conflicts of interest. So for instance, one way that can happen is that if we're talking about these chemicals, have the decision makers that think it's okay, have they ever worked for chemical companies? Have they ever made income from chemical companies? Not now, but have they done it in a year, or will they expect to deal with them in the future? And this is the thing, and this is what means that the regulators not necessarily will be dealing with this, because I think there's lots of conflict of interest, and this happens in medical as well. If the regulators and the board of scientists or whoever get their funding from the big chemical companies or pharmacy or wherever, they have to have a conflict of interest because they would like to work again. The main message today is not knocking the blueberry industry or anything like that, but really I think we should eat less of it and eat organic, because at least the organic ones you would hope would have no chemical in it. Now, it doesn't mean they're nutrient rich, and that's a separate thing. So if you can get more diversity in organic blueberries, if they have more regenerative agriculture, that would be the ultimate that you could get. And yes, they are double the price, and maybe we eat less of them, and maybe instead of eating a punnet of blueberries, mix them up with some nuts, some walnuts, some almonds. You know, you can get the slivered almonds, which doesn't have the outside, which can have some inflammation in them. Mix that up, and all of a sudden you're getting those little gut buddies in here are getting all of this great stuff to work with. So, and it's not about like, oh, that means we can't eat things that we really love. I think we're just eating too much of it because we're not getting variety. But the message and the common sense that I'm saying, don't think your regulator is there protecting you, and this is all around the world that there's been evidence of this, and you've got to be very careful. And you really want to say, you know, is there any conflicts of interest? Are the decision makers, or have they, or will they in the future ever work for the chemical companies, or basically have a conflict of interest? So this story about the blueberries wasn't the regulator picked it up. It was a university did some testing and said, hello regulator, this is what we found. And it's like completely missing an action. Absolutely missing an action. So really, and that's why, you know, if you're raising a family, or, you know, you're part of a family and you care about even your health in your future, you need to be really aware. And don't think this is about costing everyone a lot more money, because when you get the balance right, you're not eating the amount of food that you think you need, and you can afford to buy good quality. So my common sense recommendation is regenerative agriculture, food that comes from that. And that really means that you get nutrients through, obviously, the animals, improving the land with their manures and so forth. We grow things in that, and there's lots of gut bugs that benefit from what's in the soil through the plant. So they actually did studies, and around the turn of the century, the vegetables that were grown then have, like, I think approximately 3 times more nutrients than the vegetables we grow now, because we grow fast farming. And like, you can think you've got a big bowl of veggies, but the nutrients aren't in there what used to be there.